The Academy has been giving awards to the wrong movies for almost as long as they've been giving out awards at all. But sometimes they forget to nominate the right one in the first place. These are the top 10 Best Picture snubs of all time.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Kicking us off at number 10, 1967's Cool Hand Luke. Enduring, quotable, and effortlessly charming, Paul Newman led an all-star cast as one of the most iconic anti-heroes of all time. He was, and still is, the epitome of cool. In Cool Hand Luke, Newman fights, bluffs, and bets his way into the American film canon before making not one, but 3 escape attempts towards a poignant climax. But there was no Best Picture nomination to show for it. 1967 was a strong year, with movies like The Graduate, Bonnie and Clyde, and In the Heat of the Night leading the race, but time has shown that Cool Hand Luke deserves a spot right up there with the best of them. At least more than Dr. Dolittle might have.
Why so serious?
At number 9, The Dark Knight. This movie redefined a genre, and Heath Ledger's Joker performance speaks for itself. 2008 marked the last year of a 5-picture category, so perhaps it's no coincidence that they decided to open it up for the next year. There just wasn't any space to take a big genre risk. Academy voters chose generic dramas over Chris Nolan's critical and box office success with films like Benjamin Button, The Reader, Frost Nixon, Milk, and Slumdog Millionaire, which isn't exactly a surprise given the usual Best Picture type, but we think years from now, The Dark Knight will be far more memorable and important than some of the other movies that were recognized here.
You're a big singing star now, remember?
Number 8, Singin' in the Rain. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you're almost certainly familiar with the title song and dance number, but Singin' in the Rain is an entirely entertaining story of a movie studio's rough transition from silent movies to talkies. To this day, Singin' in the Rain is regarded as one of the best American musicals of all time, headlined by a career-defining performance from Gene Kelly. He even got a Special Achievement Award by the Academy that same year, but no Best Picture nod for his Best Picture. Instead, the Golden Trophy went to The Greatest Show on Earth, a film that is frequently seen all over worst Oscar winner lists.
The Eraser guys are coming here, so what if you take me somewhere else?
Coming in at number 7, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. 2004 was a relatively forgettable year at the Oscars. Nominated films Ray, Sideways, Finding Neverland, The Aviator, and $1 Million Baby were solid, but they're unlikely to find their way into the history books. But Michelle Gondry and Charlie Kaufman's weird little indie love story might. Eternal Sunshine's story of 2 ex-lovers who attempt to erase each other from their memories combined art house narrative weirdness with emotional impact in a completely accessible way, and that makes this movie as unique as they come. And while that's not something the Academy usually recognizes, it seems like audiences everywhere have. At number 6, the original King Kong. Have you ever heard of the movie Cavalcade? Yeah, neither had we. But that's the movie that won over 9 other films in 1934, not one of which was King Kong. In fact, King Kong didn't even receive a single nomination in any category at all. But King Kong remains one of the most enduring movie monsters of all time, striking a perfect balance between fierce and relatable as he scaled skyscrapers, fought dinosaurs, and fell in love. And the movie itself has inspired audiences, films, and filmmakers for generations. In fact, just about the only group it couldn't manage to inspire was the Academy.
Is anything wrong?
At numbers 5, 4, and 3 respectively, we have North by Northwest, Psycho, and Vertigo, getting snubbed back to back to back in 1958, 1959, and 1960. That's right, 3 of Alfred Hitchcock's best films, the same 3 that sit near the top of almost every best movie list ever, were passed over for Best Picture nominations in 3 consecutive years. And before you say that Rear Window was Alfred Hitchcock's best, you should also know that it too was snubbed for Best Picture. As a filmmaker, Alfred Hitchcock had unrivaled control over the craft of narrative and storytelling. Appropriately nicknamed the Master of Suspense, he directed movies with such precision and understanding of his audience that his films are about as close to perfect as you can get. But Hitchcock claimed that the Academy looked down on him for working in lesser genres, and it's no secret that he had a dodgy reputation in Hollywood. Today, though, it's hard to find a better renowned filmmaker than Alfred Hitchcock, but if you were going to, it would probably be Stanley Kubrick. Which brings us to number 2, 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2001 is usually counted among such timeless classics as Casablanca, The Godfather, and Citizen Kane, which was nominated but famously lost the Best Picture category to How Green Was My Valley. But 2001: A Space Odyssey, the master filmmaker's masterpiece, didn't even make the shortlist in 1968. This wasn't necessarily a surprise at the time. 2001 was not particularly well received. Critics walked out of the premiere, accusing it of being incomprehensible, which is actually understandable. 2001: A Space Odyssey is slow, poetic, and philosophical. There's hardly even a plot to tie it together, but it is as beautiful of a visual creation as any Rembrandt. It's a shame it wasn't even nominated in the same year that Oliver won Best Picture, but it almost seems irrelevant today. 2001: A Space Odyssey has certainly transcended the Academy Awards.
Let me tell you the story of right hand, left hand. It's a tale of good and evil.
And finally, number 1, Do the Right Thing. Spike Lee's 1989 breakout hit was nothing short of revolutionary. It is complex, balanced, frenetic, visceral, and always entertaining. His story of simmering racial hatred on a hot summer day in Brooklyn reaches an incredible, dreadful climax that turned out to be prophetic. This was a new, hip filmmaker with something important to say. It was probably the best film of the year, but it didn't even receive a nomination. What's worse is that it lost to Driving Miss Daisy. The movie was important not only for cinema, but for equality. Here was a film that dared to say that racism was still a big problem in America, while more popular films were suggesting it was a relic of the past. Perhaps it paid for its boldness, which is why it's number 1 on our list of Best Picture snubs. So what do you think? Did the Academy ignore a movie you think was a Best Picture? Is there a movie on this list that was rightfully passed over? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe to Cinefix for more IndieWire movie lists.